Hello, pet parents. My name is Arun Shivakumar,
I am Asha Arun.
and welcome to our podcast, India's first animal focused podcast where you will get a lot of information about any animals related. But today we are talking about specifically dogs, and any pet parents who are having dogs, either puppy or adult, and who are having a lot of struggles or challenges in raising them, taking care of them. Today is the day. So we have a wonderful trainer here where we will be talking more about dogs' behavior and dog psychology and stuff like that. So today we have a wonderful guest and one of the very good trainer whom we have met in our life. Her name is Sanya, and she has a wonderful experience over the decade working with working dogs and also the pet dogs. So there are a lot of things which we can discover from her today, and today we are talking to her. Hello, Sanya.
Hello, hello, hello,
Welcome, Sanya.
hello. The meeting after so long.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys have called me here.
And it's really great. Actually, we are having a conversation about this.
Yes.
How are you today?
I'm good. Not very cold today, so that's good.
Great. So today we are here to talk more about what you do and get some knowledge to our viewers. So we want to just understand how did this journey start. To start our conversation and take it to a different steps. I think we should start about having the conversation of how did you get this idea? How did you start? Where did you start? And what kind of experience do you have?
How did I start? What do I do though is like my relative's favorite question to ask, so I am very good with this answer. But it's so funny. I remember, telling you guys when the first few times we met about how I used to be petrified of dogs. Absolutely. Like, if you told me there was a Shih Tzu in your house, I'd be like, well, I'm never going to be in that house. So, I thought I always wanted a dog, but the idea of having one used to scare me a lot. I genuinely was very scared of them. And when my father passed away, in fact, the night he passed away, I started dreaming about dogs. This one particular dog, specifically, this white dog that just keeps walking towards me. And after 1 month of having that dream, every single day, I was like, maybe I should just ask my mom, should we get a dog? And I was scared of dogs. She was like absolutely terrified of them. And for some reason, she said yes.
Wow.
And I went to the friend who was the only person I knew who had any idea about dogs. I told him, will you help me get one? He took me to a pet store and we went and he was like, oh, we can get a Labrador puppy. Aap itne paise de do. And come after like this many days, the pup will be old enough to go home by then. That's all I did. And I think we went back there, I think 25 days later. And they put this white puppy on the floor and they're like, this one's yours.
Okay.
And you know Tyler.
Yeah.
Right? My life changed as soon as I saw that dog. He was walking towards me. I was like, this is the dog I've been dreaming about. And life from that day, from 2013, has not been the same.
So what did you name him?
Tyler. He was named after Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
Oh, so he's the same Tyler.
Tyler, yes.
Who we met?
My first dog.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Right, and we met because of him.
Because of him,
Right?
How
So,
can I forget him? He's a great diver, actually.
yeah, he absolutely is. Absolutely loved.
The pool was made for him, actually.
I swear.
Never tired.
Never tired. It's so funny. He never played fetch on land. He would never get the ball back. But you guys remember he would play fetch for hours in that
In the
pool.
water, yeah.
I still have so many fond memories of that pool. Everyone I meet, when they ask me about a dog pool now, I tell them there's one here, but you will never get one like the
Like
one we
that.
had over there. It was amazing.
Right.
Great.
So we started from there, and now I train aggressive dogs. Not to be aggressive, but to actually make them more aggressive. I create protection dogs for VIPs. I do patrol dog training. I do a lot of working dog related stuff. Because, luckily my introduction into the industry was not very simply pet oriented. It was why have dogs been in our life and what is the purpose we fulfill with them, right? They're there for a reason. Every breed out there exists for a reason. Apart from the, teacup Yorkies, they're just like a little bit of a show thing. But every breed that is out there was created by humans for a purpose, right? And when that purpose isn't fulfilled, there's bound to be issues, right? You cannot take a Malinois, you cannot take a German Shepherd and expect them to not be defensive towards, new people coming towards the house. They were created for that. They were created for protection of the herd. They are shepherd dogs, right? So my entire life now revolves around finding that purpose in the dog and giving them a job.
So what I'm trying to understand is you are saying that every dog has a purpose and that purpose should match with the human's requirement, only then you should be buying them or rescuing them or whatsoever.
I mean, that's an ideal situation, to be honest. There are working breeds that have remained pure working since their creation, right? Now there are also working breeds that have been diluted because they've not really worked for generations, right? Most Labradors in India, even though they're working, even though they're bird dogs, probably in the past 15 to 20 generations haven't really done any work. So their working features have kind of definitely diluted. So I wouldn't say get a Labrador only if you're going to go hunting. If you are going to get a dog, understand what the breed was made for, right? Understand what is it bringing to the table. If you were to get an Australian Shepherd dog, they're going to herd you. They're going to herd your kids. So if you then come and complain, you know what, every time I move around the house, the dog just keeps running circles around me. He's doing what he was meant to do. Now, you don't have to necessarily get the dog only when you can do that exact job that they were created for. But if you can provide an exercise avenue that goes close to it, right? If you do get a bird dog, you can go lure coursing, right? If you get a Labrador, if you get a Vizsla, you can do scent work. They were meant for that, right? If you get a Beagle, you can definitely do scent work, all right? They were so meant for that, all right? Jack Russell Terriers, you can definitely, in fact, there is this group called Rats in New York, and it's built for making sure that all these terriers, there's a group of terriers, they go and go to abandoned buildings, they go to farms and they let the terriers go. Usually these farms and these buildings have a rat infestation. Terriers were supposed to kill rats, right? So what do? Every weekend I go and take my dog to this place where he can go kill as many rats as possible. So you as a farm owner, your one problem is solved. Me as the dog owner, my problem is solved.
And the dog is also happy.
Dog's very happy, right? So that's why if you can find something that channelizes that energy somewhere productive, that's going to be very happy for the dog.
So, I mean, this arises, a question for me. The breed specific, what we're talking about, I mean, Beagle or whatsoever, Malinois or whatsoever. So you're saying that they will have this in their DNA. And if I'm a very soft spoken and I'm a very soft guy and I'm not looking for a, security or protection dog, but I'm still having a Malinois, for
Right.
example. So he will be kind of very lovey-dovey, just like what we have in our, houses like Lhasa or Labrador. They are very kind of family-oriented, emotional. So that also happens even if I want to have a Malinois.
Absolutely. See, I mean, if you're looking for an ethically bred dog, if you go seeking out that I want a Malinois, but I want it to be very family oriented. I want it to be not bitey at all. I don't want it to be defensive at all. You'll have to make sure you go to the breeder and you tell them specifically, this is what I'm looking for. Right? Like when because I also breed Malinois, but we have a very long waiting list that the person first gets vetted. Is this the right fit for what my dogs are going to create? When we raise puppies, we are very, very sure of what homes they should go to. And even then, you have to keep in mind that this Malinois particularly is docile only this particular individual. अगर वो पिछले 10-15 जनरेशन में डोसाइल होता तो वो ब्रीड होता ही नहीं, right? Because that's not what they were created for, right? That's a bad Malinois then,
Understood.
right? Most good breeders will not take that bloodline further, right? But if you want a dog that's docile, why get a Malinois in the first place?
There's the mismatch.
Right, that makes
Right.
because there's a lot of misconception, with a lot of pet parents. Because we have seen scenarios where हमारे पास Akitas है ना, because they look gorgeous, elegant and stuff like that.
Right.
So लोगों को लगता है कि Akita मैं भी ले लूँगा, but they don't understand how much effort and what kind of breed it is, what kind of dedication you should be giving.
Right.
They just go for it, and they end up getting bites, and then they abandon Akitas. We have seen
many.
our own experiences. We have seen where people have abandoned Akitas, multiple Akitas.
Right.
So that's where I was trying to ask this question: can anybody? I think I got that answer, but I'm just trying to emphasize for viewers' benefit. So you're saying if you want a lovey-dovey dog, don't go for an working dog breed. Rather go for another breed where you can manage or you can align with their energies.
Not exactly. What I'm saying is, you can go for a working breed because that dog might also be lovey-dovey. But you have to still fulfill the exercise it requires in the way it requires. Now, Poison Ivy is super lovey-dovey with me. She's cuddly with me. But she will kill you.
No, I could see the day you had come to our farm for that.
The work, right?
Yeah, for
Yes.
the work. I just came near your car and
Right, like she comes out, she's
She
walking
was
with
like-
me, she knows that this is my human. So will I say she's not lovey-dovey? She is. Right. But she's not going to be lovey-dovey with you. And that's not what I've got her for anyway. Right? I live alone, I travel alone, I sleep in my car, on the highway. And so many times I've slept in like random, petrol pump ke paas mein kahin pe. Right? I need my dog for that. I don't need a dog that's going to be like, I want to cuddle with everyone who comes close to the car. Right? So I knew what I was getting the dog for. And I studied the breed 5 years before I got into it. Right? But I had the luxury of doing so. So let's say sometimes, a dog gets dumped on you. अब आपने adopt कर लिया. अब आप ये तो नहीं बोलोगे कि मुझे तो ऐसा चाहिए था, but अब ऐसा आ गया. Right? So try and understand, let's say if you got a German Shepherd, whether it's a working line German Shepherd or a show line German Shepherd, reach out to a trainer and try and understand your dog better. Right?
So this is before even they plan to buy.
Even after you've got the dog, but don't wait for like things to start going wrong before you get a trainer on board, which is what a lot of people do. People think trainers are doctors. Right? अभी गड़बड़ हो गई है तो अभी चलते हैं.
अभी चलते हैं.
Right? Trainers have to be approached as like holistic people. That, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to become an athlete. What do I do? Right? That, okay, this is the nutrition that you need to get. This is the right kind of exercise for you. The same way, if you get a dog, whether you've adopted one, whether you've ethically bought one, right? Whether one was dumped onto you, whether one was just, randomly appeared into your life, get a trainer on board immediately, right? Like something that I do and some of my teammates do is provide temperament testing for your dog, right? We'll put your dog in control situations where I can be like, okay, this is what this dog is capable of in happy times and this is what can go wrong.
You're already assessing a puppy and giving the parents about.
Right, exactly. So even with the temperament testing for older dogs, when a client calls me in, the first 2-3 hours when I'm with the dog, I'm just observing the dog. Right? I'm trying and putting him in a situation where I'm like, okay, what will he do if this happens? And because most pet owners, they're not experts at body language. Right? They will realize that something's wrong after the dog's already snarling at them. कि अरे तो अब कर रहा है. If you sit with them and you start talking to them, the signs actually appeared 10 months ago. But they weren't, worrisome at that time because you didn't realize where is this trajectory going. What a trainer will do for you is be like, I know this dog will get resource guarding in another year, right? So this is what you need to do to avoid it. This is what you need to do when you start seeing signs of it. This is what you need to do when it does happen, right? So these are the things a trainer can do for you before things actually go really, really wrong. So when you get a breed, understand where it's come from, understand its origin, understand what can be done to, fix the behavioral issues it's happening. Because a lot of the times, if they're not rooted in bad breeding, they're rooted in their purpose being unfulfilled.
Okay, I think that gives me another question. Before even we moving to our next conversation,
Sure.
I think let's start with selecting the breeds. Okay.
Sure.
Now we'll have two categories. One, people who wants to adopt
Okay.
and rescue. One, we will have that kind of conversation. And some people, they're very specific in buying a specific breed. Correct. Now, for that kind of category people, what is your advice or suggestion on how to select the breed and what breed is good for them? I mean, if you can just categorize,
Considering the
apartment
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for the
Right.
word. So, based on the lifestyle, what breed could be better, and then we will move to the adopted and rescued breed.
So usually, I do have a few clients that have reached out to me before they even got the dog, and we do this for a lot of people, especially in the working line community when they're like, I want this dog, I want the dog to do this, and that's when we specify that ye wala breed best rahega. Okay. To answer your question, if somebody comes to me and tells me what are the things I need to look at before I decide what breed is the best, do a really, really hardcore reality check of where your life is right now. Are you a very active person? Are you I'm a very indoorsy person, sort of a thing. I'm a very social person. I'm a very anti-social person. I'm a outdoor nature walk person. I'm a going to bars person. Right? Very, very different things, and you could be all of them, to be honest. But where are you in life right now? Not what you were last year. Where are you right now? And where do you realistically see yourself in the next 5 years?
Next time. Okay.
Right? Because that dog is going to be there. Right? If you're a married couple, if you're a just married couple, are you looking to have babies?
This is a major
It is. It is such a big problem, right? I have clients who reach out to me and they're like, oh my God, wife's already expecting, or wife is, अब मैं dog भी ले आया हूँ. And I'm like, great. You probably hate your wife. Like there is just so much work that goes into it, and people don't really realize. People, after they've got the dog, they're like, oh my God, it's like raising a baby. You're raising a human, that's a lot of work. And then you're raising an animal, that is also a lot of work. It is always going to be a lot of work when a living being is involved.
Sometimes kids, they grow up and they become independent, but dogs will always.
No dog is going to be like, आज मैं बना लूंगा खाना.
Exactly.
Right. They're only that their version of आज मैं खुद से खा लूंगा is stealing food.
It's a dog's lifetime commitment, what you're taking, right?
Yes, exactly.
There are so many times like they have already got a dog, they've just married, and they are like
Yeah, it was a wedding gift.
And then the wife is expecting, and now we have got so many calls. My wife is expecting, now we want to give away the dog. We are not having
So common. So many times, oh, दादा जी को नहीं चाहिए, दादी जी को नहीं चाहिए. I mean, what do I say in that
And
case?
also there are calls like kids leke aa gaye, bacche leke aa gaye, now they are abroad, we are not able to take care.
That's a lot. I work with so many of those clients where, I've not actually met my client. I'm only working with their parents because India mein parents hai and mastiff dilwa diye. Right? I'm like, they can take your parents on a ride. That dog will just walk around with your parents on them. But look at these questions and be like, how much time can I very realistically, take out in my day? Because puppies, when they come, they're going to be a lot of work. 100%. Right? Um, if you're not able to raise the puppy yourself, do you have the financial means necessary to send your dog for a puppy school, which can be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? Puppy programs, even the cheaper ones, are at least 45K per month,
Okay.
right? Because that person's gonna raise your puppy for you, right? आपके पास में वो financial means हैं क्या? In general, आपके पास में financial means हैं क्या dog रखने के? And it doesn't have to be, very lavish. But can you provide your dog with balanced nutrition? Can you provide your dog with basic vaccinations? Can you make sure that your dog is getting the amount of exercise that breed particularly requires? Right? That's very, very important. If you're a corporate slave, that I have to do this 9 to 5, मैं नहीं आ सकता घर पे वापस, I live alone, and I want to also, be out with the friends in the evening, don't get a dog. Go work in a shelter on the weekends. If you like dogs so much, you don't have to own one, right? So figure out how much time can you very realistically give the dog, even on your bad days, even on your depression days, even on your I had a breakup today days. What's the worst day you'll have in your life? Can you still give it to your dog?
Yeah.
Very true.
Right? If you're able to do that, then get a dog. Right? अब उसके बाद में breed पे आ जाता है. Once you know what kind of a person you are, I want to go to a working dog club on the weekends, right? Then definitely get either a Malinois, a Shepherd, depending on how far you want to go into the dog sport world as well. You can go towards there. I want to go just like normal hiking with my dog, then you should go with medium to high energy level dogs that are good to keep in superhuman social areas, right? Something like a golden retriever. They have good energy levels, but they're also great to have when there's like 30 people in the same room, right? Something like that. I want to, teach my dog tricks. I want to do something with my dog. Then again, get working dogs, but smaller breeds. Your Jack Russell Terriers can be one, Beagles can be one, Shih Tzus are also, working line only. Get those.
Oh, Shih Tzus are working.
Shih Tzus are working line.
Wow.
In fact, one of the older working lines. They're Oriental based breeds, and they used to do a lot of work back in the day. But the sad thing is, they haven't really been bred for work for almost 30 to 40 years now, in most breeding areas across the world. Very rarely you'll come across a working Shih Tzu now, because nobody's really getting them for work anymore.
Yeah, because I always thought that Shih Tzus are like toy breeds, like pugs. They just come home.
But there's such a funny conception about, toy breeds. People think poodles are toy breeds, whereas they're the OG working breeds.
Really?
Right? Poodles they're water working breeds, like the same as dogs. Right? They're hunting dogs.
Poodles.
Poodles.
Wow.
Right? Poodles, everything mixed with poodles, your doodles, your labradoodles, and this and that. That's a designer breed that has only come into existence in the last decade or so.
Okay.
Right? But a poodle, the actual one, even the one you see with the fancy haircut, right, with legs halfway shaved, people think it's just like a show thing. But the shaving, that particular cut, comes from a working requirement, because they go into freezing waters.
Okay.
Right? So people get the dog because they think it's cute. Same for chow chows. Oh my god, people get chow chows and they're like, this dog with its purple tongue is like the cutest thing ever, and then it bites everybody and their master.
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody gets bitten because that dog it's a livestock guardian dog. It's an LGD. Right? Just because it doesn't look like enough charka doesn't mean it doesn't do its job. Right? It's furry for a reason. It's supposed to blend into the herd.
Oh.
How come his tongue is only purple?
I don't have enough research on that, so I can't really comment on it. But it's like a genetic anomaly. But people get the chow chow. In fact, this super Punjabi, this Instagram handle got very famous. This chow chow, where they're like, "मैं butter chicken khanda," and everybody started getting the chow chow. And every call I get for, "Hey, I want a chow chow," I'm like, "Did you see this Instagram? And is that why you're getting the dog?" And they're like, I'm like, nahi lena. At least I will not get it for you, right? You want to source it from somewhere else, because I try and source dogs from ethical breeders. Most of my ethical breeder friends will not give you a dog if you don't know anything about the breed. Right? They're very, very picky about who the dog goes to.
It's required, yeah.
Right? They're not once will you see their dogs abandoned anywhere. Right? So they're very sure that this is a commitment you're making and you know what you're doing. Right? So in that case, like, people have to really, really go into the history of what this dog was created for.
So let's take a specific example. Let's say there is a nuclear family where that's a joint family where there are like 7, 8 people, mummy, papa, husband, wife,
Okay.
brother, and everybody, and it's a small house,
Okay.
and they're all busy in their own world, but they need a puppy, a dog, to be in the family.
Okay.
And they might not have much time to take them for a very long walk or no much training and stuff like that.
Okay.
What kind of breed do you suggest for them?
Okay. If this family was to come to me and ask this question, I would ask them, the first question will be, is everyone in the family on board with the decision?
Yeah.
Right? क्योंकि मम्मी पापा busy हैं तो is दादा दादी ready to take the responsibility? Are the kids old enough to do basic pet care? Right? When everyone is like, yes, we are saying yes to it, then I'll be like, okay, how much space do we really have for the dog? Right? Are we living in a 1 BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK? What kind of an area are you living in? Is it easy to walk your dog outside? If there's 1,000 strays there, you might not be able to take your dog out. Are there means for you to take your dog to a place where you can walk them? A client of mine, उनके घर के नीचे बहुत सारे strays हैं. They put the dog in the car and then go for a walk. Right? So do you have the means to be able to do it? If they're okay with all of that, I would probably recommend maybe a beagle. Go to a specifically ethical breeder and be like, I need a chill beagle.
Even in beagle, they are
A
going
chill
to
beagle.
mention.
Yes.
That's nice.
Right. I need a chill beagle or maybe a pom. Pom would be good.
She's making that statement of beagle because her first bite, what she got was from
Yeah, from a
beagle.
beagle. I got a beautiful lesson.
Royal bite.
When we had just started boarding our apartment days, like he just took my clutch and he's running all over the house. I am seeing that he's biting it, and I
Right.
thought it will go and poke, and
Right,
it will
right,
hurt him.
right.
I put my hand into his mouth, which today, if I think, I was so mad. I feel like, अरे कितना बुद्धू थी मैं, beagle के मुंह में हाथ डाला मैंने. Where beagles are like, once they have something, they own it and they really hate
But that
anybody.
sounds like not a great beagle.
So I told Arun, beagles ka booking mat lena aaj se, because at that time even we were learning,
Right.
and I really got educated that it's not about him. It was my mistake. I should see how he's reacting. What dog is he? What is his nature? What is just triggering him? And I need to really get trained rather
Right.
than
So basically,
just,
beagle was her first teacher.
yeah. I got a very bad
So-
bite. Par.
So coming back to this,
Fun. Yes.
Um,
The breeds I was recommending. I'd recommend get a medium energy, medium sized dog. It can be either, a beagle, it can be a spaniel. Springer spaniel, not cocker spaniel. Cocker spaniels have rage issues. Then you can obviously consider the smaller ones, Lhasas. You have your Shih Tzus. Get a older indie. Don't get a puppy. Get a 2-year, 3-year-old indie. Go adopt one. Right? Because if your family doesn't have the mental bandwidth to raise a puppy, indie puppies are not meant for you. Get a dog whose temperament everybody already knows. Right? So that's why I recommend get a slightly older indie. Anyway, slightly older indies do require more adoption. They end up being in shelters longer. So I'd recommend that dog. So that's something that you can do. Also, all these breeds don't require a lot of physical exercise. They require mental work, which is easy to do in the house.
for indies also.
For indies also you can do scent work. Indies, one of the best best dog to actually be able to exercise in the house, because they don't have hip dysplasia and all of elbow dysplasia being super genetic for them. right? So you can exercise them in the house very, very easily. You don't have to worry about the floor being too slippery for them to walk around on. Same goes for spaniels, scent breeds, Lhasas and Shih Tzus. You can teach them small tricks. They're good with that. They don't require, hours and hours of exercise particularly.
So, anybody who wants to buy from a ethical breeder, or somebody wants to adopt an indie,
Right.
especially, what are the documentations they need, either from NGOs or from any kind of breeders?
So an ethical breeder, you'll have to first make sure it is really an ethical one, because a lot of times people like calling themselves ethical, but they will breed the dog just because they're running out of money. That's not very ethical of them.
But how do a normal, a layman can understand, find out?
Don't make a decision of getting a dog today and get it immediately. Let this be a slow decision that you take. That, okay, maybe I should get a dog 6 months down the line. Maybe I should get a dog 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line. Right? That gives you enough time to research the market. Speak to as many people as you can. Don't just stick to show dogs. Stick to working dog people as well, because that's where a lot of judgment of ethicality will come in. Because show dog may they'll be sticking to what the dog looks like, but that's not what this is only about. You need people who can tell you what the dog is meant to do and what are the issues that you can possibly face with them. Most working dog people are very good with that, right? So do your research. Don't be worried about talking to 1,000 people before you make that decision. A lot of people are like, नहीं मुझे तो कल ही चाहिए, तब फिर ethical नहीं आता.
That's the most wrong decision.
Exactly, right? People do a lot of impulsive buying of dogs, right? And there's no way you can make an ethical decision in that, and there's no way an ethical breeder will even give you that dog, right? Because unless you're standing on ground with raising the dog well, even sticking to the nutrition that maybe the breeder will tell you ki ye karo. Like when I raise puppies, they're raw fed. They don't touch kibble for the first few months of their life.
Or from the puppy stage?
From the day they stop being on their mother's milk, they don't go on kibble, they go on raw meat. Right? There's an entire puppy slurry that we make, right? A very well researched thing. So, is my client able to maintain that for the first at least 5 weeks of the pup being in their house? Are they able to maintain the standards that I want my puppies to be raised in? That's a very difficult conversation to have, and to be honest, it's really sad that India doesn't have regulations that allows you to look for like a ethical breeders directory or something like that. But do your research. Keep it slow, very, very slow. An ethical breeder will be able to give you the genetic history of the past 10 generations of the dog.
Wow, nice.
Right? This is ये इसकी चाची इधर है, इसकी नानी इधर है, इसकी मम्मी इधर है. That's all. We know all of that, right? And a lot of the cases they will make you sign contracts that if this happens, the dog comes back. That dog can be 11 years old, have lived your entire life with you.
Okay.
But the day you decide, आज मैं Australia shift हो रहा हूँ, so I want to give up this dog goes back to breeder. Right?
This is beautiful commitment.
So that's why when ethical breeders breed, they're like 100% sure that if there's 7 puppies in this litter, their entire lifetime responsibility is on me before it goes on anyone else. Right? So you have to really talk to these people and figure out whether they're the right match for you or not. Don't be afraid of going and meeting for puppies. And people make this mistake where they don't ask enough questions. Because वो annoy हो रहा है.
I feel
But
the
that's not the
people-
right person for you then.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, what kind of questions
So,
should somebody-
Ideally, ask for the parents' videos, the living conditions they're in. See if you can go and see the pups. You don't have to necessarily meet them because, of course, you will be carrying, outdoor germs with you. See what conditions is the mother living in. See what conditions is the father living in. Who really owns the mother? Who really owns the father? See if the documents match. Try and see if this is the first breeding, if this is the second, if it's a repeat breeding. इससे जो puppies अगर repeat breeding है, तो puppies जो पिछले वाले के थे, वो कहाँ गए? talk to those people, because you're creating a genetic consistency, right? So if I've created one dog, उसका ही same मैं genetic input यहाँ पे लेकर आ रही हूँ, तो they should ideally be similar in temperament. So do I want a dog that's like this one? Right, then I can go for this one. But if that's not the case, then maybe this is not the right fit for me. Okay, and your breeder has to be open to that, to answering all of those questions.
Because many people hesitate, after asking 2-3 questions, they are like super irritated.
That happens, and see, especially happens in puppy millers also, right? Like they don't care where the
ये
puppy
है,
is
ये ले
going.
लो बस.
ये सामने बैठा है, लेके जाओ, नहीं चाहिए तो कोई और ले लेगा.
Exactly.
Right, that's their entire mindset.
I think such people also who takes impulsive decision are the ones who are going to abandon those dogs.
100%.
What do you think?
100%. There's a correlation to it, no? If you're so okay with making such a massive decision so easily, which is getting the dog, you will also be okay with making another massive decision, which is giving up the dog.
Giving up the dog.
True.
Right? Because then that's your mindset. Right? Not everybody goes into like a overthinking mode where they're like, oh, ये करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे. Right? वो होता है. And sometimes I have people, who have got this dog and they're realizing, yeah, this is not working out for me. And they'll call and they're like, I'm really sorry. These are not dogs bred by me, but in general, a client who might have reached out and they're like, I'm really sorry, this is not working out. I feel really bad, but I want to, give the dog up for adoption. I'm like, do it. Don't abandon it wherever. But if you can't take care of the dog, if you're not able to provide it with the life he should have, it's better that you oversee the adoption and get the dog adopted. Right? Because that's a difficult decision to make. People get really attached to their dogs at times, and I can see the pain they go through when they're like, this is not going to work out. Right? So I'm never like, oh no, how can you do this? How can you abandon the dog? It's good that you're giving the dog to somebody who will 100% take better care of the dog than you can. Right? But the tricky part becomes, how will you make sure that the other person is going to, take care of the dog? I like having adoption coordinators take care of that part for you. There are some wonderful people in the animal rescue world who do this. And every time someone asks me कि आप कर दो, I'm like, मेरे को आता ही नहीं. I can't do this for you, I'm really sorry. I can give you contacts of people who do this much more better, who can go and vet other people for you and make sure that that dog will be happy in that household. But do that. But this impulsive buying, impulsive giving up, then I'm going to, of course, judge you a little bit and not help you as much. But as a trainer, my job only is to guide you as much as possible. I can't really hold your hand and make you do things. And even when the client says, मुझसे नहीं हो पा रहा, I can probably give them 10 ways to make it happen. But नहीं हो पा रहा ना, मन में आ गया है बात कि नहीं हो पाएगा.
Intention is also important.
Exactly, right? They know नहीं हो पाएगा, and then I'm like, ठीक है, आप मत करो. We'll try and as much as possible, but at one point when it says कि नहीं हो पाएगा, तो नहीं हो पाएगा. Right? Then make sure the dog goes to a good home. Right? Don't just go put it in a shelter and stop worrying about it. You keep the dog till he gets adopted. Right?
उसमें भी कमिटमेंट चाहिए.
Exactly. But अब लिया है तो कमिटमेंट थोड़ी तो दिखानी पड़ेगी.
Exactly. हमें कॉल्स आती है, we get calls saying that हमें ना अपने डॉग डोनेट करना है. We didn't understand the
I
concept.
got so pissed off. Sorry to use this language, but I do get calls. मेरे कुत्ते को डोनेट करना है. मैंने कहा, what do you mean by donate? क्या मतलब है ये?
Right.
हमें डोनेशन नहीं लेना.
I know that. फिर मुझे उनको बैठ के समझाना पड़ता है
Right.
कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल उनको पता ही नहीं होता कि what is dog and why they have bought dog or something like that, and I have to explain them. उसके बाद we try to get them adopted.
See, we definitely try and support those people who have genuine reasons.
Genuine reasons, yes.
Which is like, see, there is only 2 caretakers and they are undergoing some hospitalizations, and where the dog is really not taken care of. So we put efforts in referring people for adoptions and stuff. But people like मैं rented जगह पे रहता हूँ, dogs allowed नहीं है, जिसने पहले नहीं सोचा that before bringing a dog, and there are a lot of stupid reasons what they give.
We have seen, especially I have got 1 or 2 calls where a lady, she was in a different house, rented house, and she just got she had got a Labrador puppy because she, and it was very cute and stuff like that. Now she wanted to move to another house, and the new house landlord was not good with, he is objecting to have dogs. Now she wants to give up on the dog.
Get another house. You're not even moved there
And
yet.
I get such calls. I mean, can you just imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
you're not even thinking of.
I don't have to imagine that call comes to me also.
See, yeah, just to share this part for all those people who even think of giving their dogs for adoption just because they are moving intra-cities. He had got an offer in US and UK for his job. Those days, the first US wala thing, we had only pugs then. So we dropped the idea of moving because pugs traveling for so long, it's not
Yeah.
really good for their health.
In flights especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we just said no, we have committed for them for life, so let's just do it. And next, he had got an offer for London. By then, our
Family
family
had
had grown horses, cows, dogs. We said no,
मैं
Delhi
सोच
is
रहा
it, that's it.
अब मैं सोच रहा था कि सबको मैं कैसे ट्रांसपोर्ट करूंगा लंदन को.
So I think
Private jet. You have now a private jet.
Yeah.
Airlines, right? Which does dog transports. Yeah.
you have seen our journey, so
Oh yeah. Like what we're talking about. I think a lot of the times people actually don't even know that there is a way for them to be able to move their dog, because to be honest, in general, the knowledge that exists out there is abysmal. It's so bad. It's really, really, really bad. And I see sometimes trainers charging like an insane amount of money for teaching their people's dog how to sit. I'm like, इतना तो वो Google से भी सीख ही लेंगे, right? But if that's the only skill set you're coming with and pushing it further as a thing, that's it makes people, not trust animal professionals so much. सबके साथ में होता है कि आपकी कैनल वाली बोर्डिंग है तो हम वहाँ नहीं छोड़ेंगे, हमें तो किसी के घर में रखना है.
yes.
Right? They want home based boardings and their dog bites every dog it sees. But they want it to be in a home loving environment. Right? They want a trainer that's just pure positive. They want a vet that will, also do Ayurveda and also do allopathy and everything, also give them nutrition advice. And when one bad experience happens, it just tarnishes the entire industry. कि ये तो सभी खराब है. Everybody is just after making money, right? I mean, this is my job. I want to make money from it. Of course, I'm not profiting off of you. I'm not becoming Adani the next day.
If it's a profession and
It's a
passion,
field.
why not making money? Because everybody wants to run their
But
family.
people think ना कि animal के पास में होता तो आप मतलब why aren't you doing this as charity? I mean, I'm sorry, charity doesn't pay my rent, sadly. I would love if it did, but it doesn't, right? And these few bad elements in the industry, they create so much distrust in the common public that they do go to Google for looking up answers, and you're going to find other pet people who resonate with, your idea of raising the dog, because people like putting themselves in echo chambers, right? Pet groups become very echo chamberic, right? Ki I want to be at a place where my dog never hears a no in their life. I'm sure you'll find 100 people that agree to that idea, and then you'll stick to that only, right? And then now when you want to move and now the dog is not adjusting well, what are you going to do? You're going to ask that echo chamber, hey, what do I do? They're going to be like, give the dog to someone else, right? Then they don't really feel bad about their decision because उनको पता ही नहीं था कि दूसरे ऑप्शंस हैं, क्योंकि उनके इकोसिस्टम में तो वही ऑप्शन है ना. It's the same for everyone else around us also. We know each other because we agree on each other's terms of how animals are perceived, right? If we didn't, we wouldn't be sitting in the room together. We'd be like, नहीं उससे बात नहीं करनी.
Because we remember the first call we made about Bolt, also we asked, right? Bolt is a indie whom we had
I
adopted.
remember, yes.
7 months old he was when he came to us, and he was peeing everywhere inside the house, but keeping our garden
Clean.
very clean. And then that's where we asked you, and the first ever thing what came to us is crate train. First time when you suggested, we were also not very open to it. Then we said, crate, jail. Then we said no, we should try that.
Yeah.
Once we started doing it and we started, being open to the idea and started reading, like the way you guys also said that it's a positive
Yeah.
training. It's not that तुम कुछ गलत करोगे crate में डाल दूंगी types. You guided us, and the change what we saw in Bolt was so amazing. And believe me, that was the first day, and today all my dogs they fight to go inside.
The crates, yeah.
They love their crate.
I think, most of the dog industry's problems would go away if everybody started crate training
I
their
know.
dogs. It's so important. And it's just, association का खेल होता है कि people perceive it as a jail because sadly, the crates we get do end up looking like that. They are there. I mean, there's not a massive demand yet in our country for custom made crates, but there is a market for it, right? In the US, in the UK, Netherlands, I know so many of my friends who do this. They will, make a wooden crate for you that blends into your furniture. Your coffee table is a crate, right? Your side showpiece table is a crate, right? Then people don't mind it because they understand that dogs are den animals, right? You're fulfilling an innate need for them to be in a place where they're covered from three sides and they can be alert only from this one, open side. कि कुछ threat आएगा तो इधर से आएगा and I'll be ready. I'm protecting myself from everywhere else. Right? And people see it every day in their lives. Indies sleep under cars all the time. Your dog loves sleeping under the bed. Your dog loves sleeping in a corner in the house. But आप crate नहीं लाओगे.
I think that's a very good point.
This is really nice.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Indie sleeping under the car
Your dog is already crating itself.
almost a crate train.
It is a crate train, right? Indies love crates because it's such a safe space for them. If it's not a puppy, if it's a dog that is, settled, older dog है, आपको डर नहीं है कि वो बेड को चबा लेगा, turn that ugly looking crate into a beautiful place. Right? That's a lot of my clients do that. They'll get like these, and you now have these fancy, Disney beds now. When we started, like it wasn't there. Right? वो घर पे गद्दा होता था, वही बिछा देते थे dog के लिए. But now you have all these waffle beds and whatnot. Put that in, cover the crate with a crate cover, or create a custom cover. You do whatever, right? But create that safe space for your dog. He's already seeking it. He's already showing behaviors that he likes being in corners. A lot of times people will present counter argument कि नहीं कब कितने बार तो वो ऐसे भी लेट जाता है. That doesn't mean he should not have a bedroom of his own ना.
True.
क्योंकि बाकी का घर तो आपका है. उसके लिए भी तो थोड़ी सी जगह चाहिए. Which is just
I think
his.
that the word bedroom is very
that
very
is the
important
right
for
thing.
everybody to understand because everybody thinks कि crate एक jail है, एक पिंजरा है, और everybody are open in the entire house, but dog is in the crate, so it's a punishment.
Yeah, yeah.
For that, whenever asks us, we always say, हमारा crate देखो, 3 side बंद है, चौथा side जो है, door open है. I'm not asking my dog to go there, but he wants to go there.
He will go in, yes.
How he feels safe when there are too many people coming inside, lot of guests coming inside, and if the dog is not feeling safe, and if he wants a space, then he's getting into it. And I try to give an example. You have a place to cook, kitchen. You have a place to do your daily rituals, which is your bathroom, and you sleep in your bedroom. But you don't swap things, right?
Right.
You don't cook in
the bedroom,
bathroom or bedroom. So that's exactly why dogs also need crate, because that's their personal space.
Exactly.
Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. It's, okay, your dog likes sleeping on the couch, right? But that's not his space only. When you have guests come over, they take over his space. Now you can give me this argument whatsoever कि मेरे घर पे तो guests आते ही नहीं है who don't like dogs whatsoever. But you have to prepare for that one day that guest might come over ना. तब आप अपने dog को थोड़ा ना distress में डाल दोगे कि नहीं अब तू हट जा.
तो अलार्म तो तभी बजेगा.
Exactly. Prepare your dog for that thing ना.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the harm in giving the dog their own space? even if you never shut that door, even if your dog never requires to shut that door ever completely, still give them that space, you know, because it allows for them to decompress. And that's very important if you've just adopted a dog, because they have now come to a new house. Maybe पिछले 6 महीने से 1 साल से 2 साल से वो shelter में रह रहे थे, where also they had a kennel, by the way. None of the shelters are open shelters, right? They understand very well how important kenneling is. अब आपने इस जगह पे ले आए, नया घर है, everything smells different, right? All these humans are faces he's never seen before, right? You smell different to him. Your dog, you know, whatever dog you've adopted, he's never seen your body language before. So he's constantly on alert, you know. Constantly being alert in a new place is a super stressful thing to be in, right? Your cortisol is shooting through the roof. अब उसमें आपके डॉग के पास में कोई जगह ही नहीं है कम decompress होने की. You know, I give this advice to a lot of people. If you want to get a dog home, especially from a shelter, get a crate. Start getting that dog used to that crate even in the shelter. You know, place that crate in his kennel. And then when you bring that crate to your house, he's going to have that safe space. You know, that he can recognize कि मुझे इसका आदत है, मुझे पता है what it smells like. No, this dog will adapt to the new house, decompress much more faster than any other dog in a similar situation. Right? Crates are wonderful. I love them.
I think it's a wonderful
Absolutely.
statement.
I'll tell you a very funny story also. You know, like you said that your dogs love being crated. So one of my very close friend, you've met him, Aman. Right? His dog's Yuki, again a Belgian Malinois. So sometimes she'll wake him up in the middle of the night. If he's let her sleep outside, she'll wake him up, like keep nudging him, and then she'll go sleep and stand in the crate, like asking him to shut the door. So she doesn't sleep in the crate if the door is not shut. Like she just has this thing, okay? So she will like keep asking you, like, hey, shut the door, I want to go to sleep. So it is funny, you know, and people are like, nahi, aise zabardasti band kar diya hai. She's so comfortable in there. Of course, we don't have her be in there 24/7. It's not her house. It's just a place for her to decompress, right? And she likes being in there. So every time, whenever it is possible, she'll go stand and she's like, okay, I've interacted. Okay, now my extrovert version is done. I'm an introvert hone ja rahi hu, so just shut the door.
Now give my space.
Right? Yeah, give me my space. She does that, and it's a wonderful example of you know, dogs asking for you to shut that door and being like, मुझे crate में रहना है.
I think with humans also, right? Everybody needs their own space.
100%.
अब इतना ज़्यादा आप चिपकोगे एक दूसरे के ऊपर तो
Right.
the other person will definitely get annoyed
Right.
and he will actually verbalize that, please, I need my space.
Yeah,
एक दिन तो बोलेगा ही.
But that is the thing, no? That's the key word, verbalizing. You're able to verbalize, hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to my bedroom. अभी बहुत हो गया, especially if you're a teenager. Right? Like I need my space. But dogs, because we suck at reading their body language, right? We're like, नहीं, क्यों बंद करना?
We are pushing them too
Yes.
much, and
we try and you know, not only try and we try and read them as humans, we also try and treat them as humans, which is not the right way to go about it. I think you know, when I started in the industry and I started, you know, reading, I'm not on a lot of pet groups anymore. I got banned from some because I was like, crate training kara karo.
I know what you mean.
Training kara karo, and they're like, no training. But in general, a lot of my peers also struggle with this idea of people calling their dogs their kids, you know. And I've come to a point where I'm like, it's okay. You know, they might not have kids, they want to call it. And it's okay. You can be a 15-year-old girl or a boy calling your dog, your cat, your kid. It's okay, you know, because humans have this instinct to raise a living being. Like you can put a face, you can draw a face on a rock and people will attach emotions to it. You know, humans have this wonderful capacity to do so. And I don't want to kill it by being like, nahi, handler hi bolo. No dog mom, no dog dad, right? But I've realized some of the people who I really look up to in the industry, you know, best trainers in the world, they also will like, I'm a dog dad, I'm a dog mom. Because they've also overcome this hurdle of like, what exactly are you in your dog's life? You know, once you overcome it, you have to really understand that you can call your dog whatever you want to. Okay. You can love them as much as you love a human, but don't treat them like you would treat a human, because I think that's disrespectful to the dog. I think dogs are much better.
That is good.
Right?
Disrespectful.
It's so disrespectful.
That's not a respect what we are
Yeah.
giving.
That's a wonderful statement.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, I'll value my dog for what she is as an animal. Right? Not what she gives me as a human version of it. Right? Like, this is like when I look at Poison Ivy, she's this wonderful, majestic looking dog, right? Who has the capacity to really, really kill somebody. And she chooses not to do that to me. Right? Every day she's like, I love you for more than anything else. Right? So why would I be like, oh, ये तो human जैसी मेरी बेटी है. ठीक है, I'm her mother. But man, that dog is wonderful. I can never ever treat it as something as inferior as a human. Right? So that's what I always tell my clients, like, love the dog for what it is. Give them more love than you would to a human being, but don't call them a human being.
Human being. Wonderful. That's a
Right?
great thing
That's
what
so
you said.
important to understand. Right? Like, that's when you start looking at dogs as dogs, it becomes easier to fulfill their purpose. Right? When you're not like, अरे ये तो सिर्फ कुत्ता ही है, or not like, no, he just requires like fancy food and a place to sleep in. Look at your Jack Russell Terrier as somebody who's going to dig holes and go hunting.
No, that completely makes sense.
Right? And then you will actually enjoy your dog. If you start working with your dog, if you start, giving your dog a task, a job, see how your relationship with them changes. Your dog will love you for it. Right? Because you're fulfilling a biological need that they have. Right? So somebody who's great at singing, has been forced to a desk job, और आप आके बोलो कि चल यार गाना चलते हैं, they're going to love you, right? क्योंकि अंदर से एक नीड है जो फुलफिल हो रही है, हमें पता भी नहीं है. It's the same way as people talk about this potential being in you. If you start fulfilling their potential, you're at the happiest version of yourself, even when things don't seem to be going right on paper.
Very
Right?
true.
That's what happens when we go and train dogs, when we work with dogs. I could be having the worst possible day of my life. Right? But when I'm training a dog, I'm so happy in that, like 10-minute session. Right? I was stuck in 2 hours of traffic to get to my client's place, and I know I will be stuck in worse traffic going back home. But I still come there and train that dog because it gives me so much happiness. Because I'm fulfilling my potential. Right? This is just my purpose. I'm doing it. Right? And dogs enjoying it. Right? That's why you see these people like trainer के साथ में तो उसका अलग ही relationship है.
I think ये specific topic जो है, specifically, choosing pets and how to take care of them, this is a never-ending conversation. I think यही एक topic एक episode बन सकता है. But I think we should be taking another episode on specific issues based on comments what our viewers give. Having said that, moving on to our next segment. So you have over a decade of experience in training different dogs, different breeds, and different scenarios as well. And you're also assistant director in PSA International as well. And you're also co-founder of Canet. Now, let's talk about training in specific to cover most of the things in this episode. Can we talk about kinds of trainings and what all trainings you do?
Okay.
And name them and give a small brief about those trainings.
Oh, that's a long list. Okay. Starting from the very basics, it's going to be puppy school. All right. If you get a puppy, you want training, it's 2 ways. Either I keep and raise the puppy, or I come and train the dog at your place. The same goes for there is basic, medium, and advanced level training, which will be both indoors and outdoor. A complete holistic training that covers obedience, covers house manners, everything that you require to raise a well-adjusted dog. Right? That's your very, very foundation of training. If we are starting with a genetically ideal specimen, right? Then you have behavior rehabilitation. where you might have a dog that has now showing issues, or just is genetically has always been showing issues. How do you work around? How do you train that dog? That's one specific thing. Could be aggression, could be, barks at its own shadow for no reason. Anything that is a little bit away from what is called normal undergoes behavior rehabilitation. We try and get the dog back into as much manageable stage as possible, right? Then you have specialized training, which would be service dog training, assistance dog training. You could have therapy dog training. You can have protection dog training. You can have detection dog training, right? Now, these are all avenues where you require well-bred dogs that are bred for a purpose, right? I will not take a Labrador for protection, right? So protection mate could be training dogs for guarding a household, guarding a facility, guarding a particular person. In that case, we are turning the dog into a weapon, right? A very, very highly specialized weapon. Now, don't say that we are forcing the dog into this. The dogs love doing this, that's why they are doing it. Right? Any dog that doesn't want to do a particular thing is not going to do it very well. Right? And then that absolutely fails our purpose. You do not want to give a VIP a gun that doesn't work. Right? So something similar only. That's your protection dog aspect of it. Then you have your service dogs. Now, if I go into the kind of service dogs that exist, that list will truly never end, because you have dogs that detect cancer, you have dogs that detect diabetes. Now, that dog could be your dog, that dog could be a hospital hired dog. You have bed bug detection dogs.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Bed bug detection dog.
Bed bugs are economical disasters. So if you ever get an airplane जिसपे एक भी bed bug दिख जाए, the flight gets absolutely disbanded. That plane will never be used again.
Wow.
Right? Because bed bugs are that bad and they spread very quickly. Right? If you've seen anyone with a bed bug infestation, they still have PTSD from it, most likely. It gets really, really, really bad. And that's why hotels hire very expensive bed bug detection dogs.
Wow.
Oh, this is a news for me.
So you have bed bug detection dogs, you have mold detection dogs, which are hired by these are these regulators in the US and the UK specifically that come and check your house whether it's according to code or not. आपका घर कोई बेच नहीं सकता without being like, okay, the plumbing is fine, the walls are fine, the structure is fine. Right? You can't just sell your house like that. So an inspector comes in and checks the house.
Wow.
And then another inspector comes in and checks the house after you've already bought the house. Right? So there's people who involve dogs there because sometimes mold is not visible to the eye. Right? But it is a massive health problem. So you'll have dogs doing that. You have dogs detecting specific cancers. Then you have dogs for mobility. So a lot of bigger breeds, Rottweilers, Mastiff, are now used as mobility service dogs. So if you're somebody who has a high chance of, fainting anytime, you end up having a mobility dog with you, which can carry your weight if required. Right? I think blind assistance dogs are the most common service dogs everybody knows.
Yeah, we have seen that.
Right.
But this cancer, this is really fascinating.
So there have been recent studies that have shown that dogs are much more accurate than machines at detecting cancer at early stages.
Wow.
Wow.
Then
So-
everyone will have a dog now after seeing this.
That would be great, as long as they exercise and train them, right? But you have these dogs that are able to detect breast cancer in early cases, testicular cancer, lung cancer. There have been cases where dogs have already detected that something's going wrong before any of the blood tests, before any of your other scans showed it, right? Because that's how minutely dogs are studying you. And if you're able to give them a particular scent, like you have, cadaver dogs. It's a very sad part of it, but dogs that find dead bodies, right?
Dogs found?
Dead bodies,
They find?
Yes, they find.
Huh.
Abhi, in cases, for example, in missing cases, after a particular time, right? a person is not really considered alive anymore. That there's a very high chance that they're no more. So you'll have two kinds of dogs looking for that person. One is going to be a scent detection dog, the other is going to be a cadaver dog. Right? Because what if something has really gone wrong? Right? And in some cases, you might have a criminal that says, yeah, I did kill like 10 people. मैंने यहाँ पे लाशें फेंक दी थी. Go find them on your own. You have cadaver dogs. 9/11 cadaver dogs were used after, the initial rescue work was done. You had to bring in dogs that could tell you where the bodies are.
Right.
All right. So then you have your search and rescue dogs used in avalanches. One of my favorite search and rescue dogs is your Newfoundland. Such a massive dog, right?
Newfoundland.
They're water rescue dogs.
Whoa.
That's the only breed that gets dropped from a helicopter right into the ocean.
Wow.
This is
Right?
very
Because
impressive.
they're amazing swimmers. So
Newfoundland?
Yeah, that Newfoundland is where Labradors came from. That's their original breed. Right? So Newfoundland dogs, as big as, an average English Mastiff, they're bigger than most of your Ovcharkas and everything. सेंट बर्नार्ड के साइज के रहते हैं, थोड़े से बड़े रहते हैं.
And they're so cute as well.
I
They look
thought
very cute.
because of their size and weight,
They're
are not able
amazing
to swim.
swimmers. They're amazing swimmers.
Wow.
So they get dropped into the middle of the ocean where you have, choppy waters की दूसरा इंसान जाके रेस्क्यू नहीं कर सकता. तो वहां पे वो डॉग को ड्रॉप करा जाता है and they will swim to the person and they have these specialized vests on them that the person can hold on to. Sometimes they'll carry like oxygen breathing tanks on them.
Oh my god.
Right, so the person can put it on them, right, and then this dog will all swim all the way to the shore, right? Again, very original working dogs. They would do water rescue all the time. So you still have these dogs being used. Your truly working dogs and breed huskies, meant for pulling, created for pulling. And the biggest complaint you get now is like, my husky is pulling.
Pulling. Yes, I really wanted to add this question whenever it.
He is, of course he is, he's supposed to. Right? And they put a harness on him, which is going to make him pull even harder. Right? So people do that. So you have all these dogs. Now that's your service dog avenue. That's your, dogs being used as medical equipment and assistance. And then you have your therapy dogs. So therapy dogs they're not really taught tasks, but they're taught a lot of resilience specifically. They can be around, 50 kids pulling on their tail, pulling on their ears, and they're like, it's okay. Right? So there's reading programs around the world for autistic kids because autistic kids have a really difficult time being able to, connect with a human being. And I'm simplifying this, a lot. It's the entire autism spectrum. It's something that an expert will be able to talk much more nuanced about. But just to put it in layman's terms, these kids cannot connect with other human beings that easily. So there's been programs where these kids are, given books or whatever, and they have a dog with them. So the kid reads to the dog. And you've seen much higher rate of reading skills going up, social skills going up, and in general acceptance to being touched by even their own parents with autistic kids who work with these dogs. Right, so you have these dogs, and now you have dogs in classrooms as well, in a lot of schooling programs, in Swedish nations especially over there. In the USA, not so much. That there in the US, you still have mostly therapy dogs for classrooms, but in other places, they have had these studies done where they found that if kids are raised with dogs, they develop socially much more better. Right, so now they're started introducing them into education programs. Right, so if we were to be able to bring that here, it'll be so good. But I think we're still in very early ages of animal keeping, and it's so funny considering India used to be the biggest supplier of working dogs to the Roman nations before the Mughals and before the Britishers came in. Like we don't have that written in history yet, not, in general, because we didn't focus on it. but some of the best dogs across the globe were supplied from India.
Wow.
I was reading this entire history and I was boggled by it. Because I always thought that apart from the few working breeds that we have, the Indian native breeds that we have, we didn't have a very rich history of dog keeping. And I was proven wrong, and how? Like we were the OGs there, right? And now it gives me like so much inspiration to look into it even more, because Roman museums do carry this. There used to be villages that were designed just for Indian dogs coming in and for handlers and trainers over there.
Wow.
Because that's all they did. They trained dogs for war, they trained dogs for work, they trained dogs for, cart carrying and then supplying them across the country further.
Indian dogs like Sanya?
So they were the earlier bigger breeds that we have, like the Pakistani bully. Alright, and उसी के थोड़े बहुत अब extinct हो गए हैं, but on that similar line, because from whatever I read there, it talked about the dogs being very big. But even the Rajapalam and Kombais that we have are much more smaller now.
Yeah.
Yes.
They used to be
They used to
bigger,
be bigger and longer.
bigger, longer, much more resilience in terms of the environmental variations that they could take. Right? Of course, it changes. We used to also be much more taller people. Right? Not you, of course. You are tall. I'm talking about in general. But like how, because the nutrition quotient of the nation went down because of the adversity we faced, right? You couldn't really have dogs that were going to go be very big, because only the smaller ones could really survive, right? So, but that's a whole different, we can have another episode
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that topic. But, that's, if you really, really look into the history that we carry, it's so, so rich about dog keeping. And now that we're looking at it, I can put a very clear timeline on when things really started changing. And it's been only the last 1 decade or so, because 12, 14 years ago, when you talked about a dog trainer, they wouldn't look like me. It would be an army guy, who goes around training everybody's dogs, right? And it wasn't a very well respected profession, to be honest, right? It was just somebody that people sometimes, like the army people, unke alawa, people did it as a hobby, right? So when I got into this field, people say like, oh, it's a hobby. And I'm like, no, it's not a hobby, right? Now when they look at it, and now when they have dogs and they're like, oh, this is so great, you do such an amazing job, they sometimes still are like, but like, do you really earn from this? Like, I'm like, just because you don't want to pay your trainer doesn't mean other people don't. But things have changed so much. You have luxury brands in India now talking about, of course, it's not nowhere at the level of Japan doing luxury for dogs, because you have Dior and Louis Vuitton and Bottega Veneta making things specifically for dogs and having stores there, right? Just for dog collars. But we'll get there. I have like really high hopes on dog ownership going really high up, not only just in tier 1, but tier 2 and tier 3 cities also.
Yeah.
Right? And the need for having better trainers, better, animal boarding, animal communication will increase quite a lot.
The awareness is increasing now
Yeah.
beautifully. So also, like, when you're talking like 12, 13 years ago, this is how it was. A girl being a trainer,
field, oh,
it
absolutely.
was like
Absolutely, there wasn't, and
it was not
it's so
easy,
funny.
I'm sure.
People would think that you become a trainer because you couldn't do anything else in your life, right? And when I tell them my education background is genetic engineering, their Indian parent heart can't take it. अरे ऐसे कैसे, मतलब, how did you get into that? And to be honest, that part of my education actually helps me here. It gives me an edge, because I can understand the genetics of your dog much better.
Makes sense.
Right.
Makes
I
sense.
understand when people talk about evolution. I've done research papers on it, so I can read research papers on it and give you better answers to your question, right? But it is changing. It's changing so quickly, and it's going well. I think there's some, जब भी कोई फील्ड बड़ी होती है, जब बूम आता है कहीं पे, हमेशा बीच में थोड़े से स्कैमस्टर्स आ ही जाते हैं, राइट? इट्स अ मनी मेकिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी, बट आई थिंक दैट्स अ फेयरली नॉर्मल growth trajectory that we are on, that it started small, it's going big, and it suddenly exploded. So you will have people who will try to take advantage of others who don't know better, and then eventually we'll get to a place where you have more knowledge and people are able to make better decisions. Like how you guys are with this podcast, right? You want to put out good amount of knowledge out there, like, and not just kuch bhi, but like verified knowledge.
Yeah.
True.
Right, that this is what happens, this is what can be done. So whoever watches this podcast is already going to know more than they did maybe an hour ago or 2 hours ago, however long this episode is.
Yeah. I mean,
I am
that's
enlightened so much with you right now.
I mean, that's our try to spread as much as awareness possible and learn. I mean, for us also, we learn a lot of things in this podcast. So that's another enlightenment what we are also,
And I
getting.
think when you work with animals, you never really stop learning.
Yeah.
They're so unique. Each dog is
Each
so
dog,
unique.
yeah.
Even from the same litter, they're genetically the same dogs, but they have such sharp personality changes. Right? And if you actually raise multiple dogs of whether the same breed, whether the same litter, same age, you will actually really see how different a dog can be. So you'll keep learning. You'll keep learning till you're in the field. And that's I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
So, what is your specialization in which
What is
training?
my specialization?
Yeah.
I don't really think I have like a very
Or probably
specific thing.
let me put it this: which training you enjoy the most? I'm sure.
Working dog training anyway, because I think my pet dog training, I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I can do it in sleep. इतना challenge नहीं रह जाता ना कभी कभार. But when someday you'll get a dog which is not following the norm anymore, right? Then you're like, oh,
That's more
this is fun.
interesting.
Like this dog is gonna be fun to train. Or dogs that are so smart. Every time I have a client tells me ये इतना बदमाश है, I'm like 100% he's a very smart dog. Because smarter dogs and smarter kids are the naughtier ones also, na? Because their brain is working on a whole different trajectory.
Last benchers.
Right, exactly. Like if you give them, a problem, they will not solve it the way you thought should be solved. Right? They'll find a loophole very quickly. So in dogs also, like, you might have raised 50 dogs before this, but this one will stump you. Because he's figuring out loopholes in your behaviors. आपको habit हो चुकी है. And he's learned it up very quickly. Right? And he knows exactly how to exploit you. And he knows exactly who to also exploit. Right? I love dogs that are challenging to train. I think that would be like a better answer. Right? Working dogs में भी कई dogs ऐसे बड़े text book आते हैं कि आपने bicep पे डाला काट लिया उन्होंने. They never have any issue. Right? They never give you a headache. Right? But Ivy was a very headache dog. Like when I was in Pune and I used to go to my club, the working dog club that we had there, I know for months, every time I came back from club, I would be crying in my car. I was like, this is just not going right. And now when things have started going right because I've stayed consistent, because I've tried different methods and has made me a better trainer in that process, I'm like, I love this. I love overcoming this particular challenge with the dog.
That's how we learn, right?
Yes, that's exactly how we learn. And if you understand the concept of free shaping, it's where you present your dog with a problem, but you don't tell it what the solution is. आप उसको सामने खाना रखते हो, आप उसको बोलते नहीं हो कि क्या करना है. But वो जैसे ही sit करता है, आप उसको reward दे देते हो. So what does he learn? Oh, this is what gets me a reward. Primitive learning कहते हैं जिसको. There was this one dog that I was working with. This was quite early on. And you guys know that dog. We'll talk about it. He just wouldn't do a down. Just would not. You could do anything in the world and he wouldn't do a down. And they tried other trainers coming in. I tried for like sessions. I'm not even kidding. I tried for 4 separate sessions. I was like, kar hi nahi raha. No matter what people suggested, I spoke to so many mentors. Kya kare, kya kare, kya kare. He just wouldn't do it. And I was like, let's just, free shape it. So I took him in a room. I held food in my hand. I was like, you and I are both here. तुम कभी तो थक के लेटोगे. At one point you will give up and you will go like in a behavior similar to a down. I will mark it. Took 1 hour 30 minutes. I was just standing there. He was just standing there. Eventually he was like, oh. I was like, yes, Exactly यही करना था.
You marked it.
Yeah, and then it became so much easier to mark that behavior because it became one of the things that gave him a reward. So he started doing it much more often.
So the yes was a marker.
The yes was his marker, yeah, but also my feeling. Ki finally,
Patience is the key, right? You
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a lot of
absolutely. In training, working with animals, patience is
We learn
most
a lot of
important.
things which we imbibe into our own life and
Yeah.
our own daily activities, also working with these
Yeah,
different kind of animals.
I think we become better people when we start working with animals.
Yeah, of course. I think more than with humans, when you start working with dogs, you will be the most, better person.
Absolutely. When you work with humans, you only become a worse human.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, I hate everybody. But when you're working with animals, you never go like, I hate all dogs. Like, yeah. Even the bad ones, even the ones that bite us, right? Sometimes even, especially the ones that bite us, we love them as
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
We have our heart attached to them.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
So I choose to work with animals any day.
Wonderful.
That's really great. I think there are a lot of questions to ask you, but we need to have another probably multiple episode because we need to talk more about especially on indie dogs
Yes.
because there are a lot of awareness spreading and we have ourselves have too many indies to we are helping them to get adopted and there are a lot of NGOs also. And we do get a lot of questions कि मैं इंडी को अगर मैं ले तो लूंगा but how will I train, how will I take care?
Right.
So at least for such kind of people we need to definitely support them and especially indies, and there are a lot of questions coming up what kind of breeds I need to be buying, looking at my conditions. There are a lot of questions keep coming
And
up.
also about the food, like raw feed and
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
we
Right.
should be-
definitely.
Yeah, we should be talking
lot
about the
of episodes.
nutrition.
Yes.
I think nutrition के ऊपर ही एक episode बन जाएगा.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Just the misconceptions itself.
Yeah, and we need to talk about the PSA and all these stuff. But with given the time constraint, we should be having more episodes like this. But for today's conversation, before we closing out today's episode, any messages or any quick tips to our pet parents?
I think I'm just gonna repeat, what I said earlier in the middle of the episode, that don't do the disservice of treating the dog like a human. Right? Try to get into their mind. They're the most amazing creatures out there. There's a reason that we have such a long symbiotic relationship with dogs that even when you go into the earliest recorded history of humans, dogs are there. Right? Even in caveman paintings, there's a dog on
Yeah.
a leash.
Agreed.
Right? We've worked with them for so long. So don't treat them like humans. Love them more than you love humans, but don't treat them like humans. And do your research as much as possible. There's never enough research.
Before even buying, before even thinking of buying.
Before, in general, anything about the dog, right? Before you make the decision of what food you want to get, before you make the decision of what color you want to get, right? Don't let it be just something that satisfies you for 10 minutes, right? Because for the dog, that's a very important aspect of their life, right? And like you said, they can't really verbalize their needs. Some do. Some will let you know that something's going wrong, but not always. So be their advocate, right? You are your dog's advocate always. So the food am I feeding, the trainer that I'm getting, right? The exercise I am doing, the vet I am going to, are they right for my dog or not? Do a lot of research before you come to any conclusion. I think that's going to be my message.
Great. That's
I
a
think-
great message, actually.
I think we learned, especially I learned, many things in this podcast, especially related to training and stuff like that. And I'll be really excited to have more episode and more learning for me at least.
You can keep me
So-
here. We can keep filming it.
I'm going to have offline workshops also from you.
That would be great. We should, I am so glad that, you guys are doing this and you guys called me here. Because we genuinely don't have enough, even if you have like a dog podcast or something, they're never really looking at the, इतने सारी इंडस्ट्री के लोग मिलके साथ में कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं. Either you'll have a trainer just talking about training. Right? You'll have a nutritionist just talking about nutrition. But nobody talks about how dogs impact us emotionally, how animals impact us emotionally, the entire overall way that they.
It's a teamwork.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's so good that you guys are doing this, bringing in different people and talking to them, having a very human conversation about animals.
Thank you so much.
It's so much fun talking about them all the time.
And
So,
thanks for coming, Sanya.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, I personally had a very great time. I hope you did as well.
I love talking, so that's always a great time.
Thank you so much, and bye till we meet in our
Again.
next episode.
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much, Sanya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.